It's easy, turn a 2-day weekend into 3. CBD within reach, TXT to MSG to BD.
Version 2.0. With me is the voice of our, stalwart. Is that the word I'm looking for? Stalwart?
Sure.
Companion.
That sounds good.
Friend, brother in arms, master podcaster.
A master podcaster.
Host of the podcast, Source Material, and a member of the Screaming Boy family, Jesse Starcher.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
I needed like a really good theme song for you right then.
Well, I'm curious as to what that would be. Hopefully, it would be somewhat Back to the Future related. You maybe bring it in with Back to the Future 3. And then I'm all right with that. Okay, whatever. You know, anything works.
Yeah, but we're missing one of our trio tonight, and he'll be on shortly. And that is Adam Runyon, and he is the co-host of the Screaming Boy podcast. My name is Ronnie Adams, and we are so delighted to be here tonight. Adam actually had something he wanted to talk about, but he's not going to get to talk about it because that's what happens when you're late.
You move your seat. No, wait, so that's not how it works. Move your feet, lose your seat, but he didn't really get here to move his feet, so.
It works. I'll allow it.
Allowed.
I will allow it.
Allowed.
We have a special episode tonight, and we really are excited about this because I think the topic of this is near and dear to all of our hearts. I know it is to mine, and I know it is to Adam's because we talk about it all the time, and we are talking about Indiana Jones. And we're talking about, yes, there are 4 movies, so we'll be talking about all 4 movies. As much as I don't want to admit that there's a 4th, there is a 4th. Just like I said in the topic, the description or whatever you want to call it of this episode, we were talking about his adventures and his misadventures. So Indiana Jones is really one of those guys that Murphy's Law applies to him. So anything that could go wrong or can go wrong will. So we have a hero that, even though everything goes wrong, he always ends up on top, and he always, but we'll save that for later on. Now, Jesse Starcher, are you an Indiana Jones fan?
Oh, absolutely, man.
Yeah, it's because you're human.
I don't know too many people that really dislike this franchise. I mean, there's not really anybody out there. I mean, from kids, women, men, it seems to ring true. Anybody who sits down and watches it, man, Indiana Jones, dude, what a character to grace the screens in the 1980s. This was, hot off of, we're talking Spielberg and Lucas here, right?
Yeah, it's Lucasfilm, Spielberg directed. So you've got 2 of the biggest names in movies right there. Lucas had, at the point of Raiders, which is Raiders of the Lost Ark, and we're calling this episode Screaming Boy and the Raiders of the Lost Podcast of Doom. There's a lot of crap we threw against the wall, and some of it stuck. So Raiders of the Lost Ark was 1981. 81. And so we're coming hot off the trails of Star Wars: A New Hope, or as better known as just Star Wars. And then Empire Strikes Back. I think that was, and I'm looking it up right now, so don't judge me because I am a Star Wars fan. See, New Hope was 77, and I think Empire was 1980. So Harrison Ford, before he did these, he did American Graffiti. I think it was American Graffiti. And then he was kind of an unknown actor, so he got on the train with A New Hope in '77, and they brought him back as Harrison Ford as Han Solo in 1980. So he's already kind of got his reputation down as a hero, and that scoundrel kind of character. And so all of a sudden 1981 hits, and we have Raiders of the Lost Ark. Before we get into everything, I do want to ask you this, Jesse. What was your first exposure to the character? What was the first movie that you actually watched with Indiana Jones in it?
I'm fairly certain it was the second one. I don't recall catching the first one until after actually watching the second, and I caught the first one like on network TV. I'm sure it was either ABC Saturday Night at the Movies or whatever was showing it at the time. This was back in the mid 80s to late 80s, I think. So I was actually coming into Raiders after Temple of Doom, which is kind of Temple
Wrong?
of Doom. No, here's the thing. Temple of Doom holds a pretty big soft spot in my heart. And as we talk, if we talk about those, if we're going to go chronologically, start with Raiders and go to Temple of Doom, I'll save some of that for later. But I remember, when did Temple of Doom come out? Do you have a date on that one? Is that something?
Temple of Doom was 84.
84. Man.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade was 89.
I do not remember going to the theaters in 84. I would have been, I think, 6 years old at the time. So, but as as me and you grew up in the age of the 80s and video games, that was one of the things I can clearly remember with Temple of Doom, is that they had an arcade game that was probably I thought was one of the coolest things when I first saw it, because it had, Kalima, Molaram Sularam.
Grabbing your heart out of your chest.
Yes, and
terrifying stuff.
It had actual voice. The voice was coming out over the arcade game, and I was like, oh my gosh, this thing looks so awesome. It felt, at the time, I thought it was so true to the film. And I watched a little bit. I think actually, again, another reference to Angry Video Game Nerd, I watched him play some of the Indiana Jones games, and I think he was doing like all the Lucasfilm games, Jaws, Jaws was Lucas, or was that just Spielberg, right? Jaws was not Lucas.
Jaws was not Lucas, no.
Thank you very much. So anyway, now that I'm totally wrong, but I remember him. I remember him sitting there playing. I remember him sitting there playing those games. But anyway, it wasn't a very good game when it got ported over to the Genesis and Super Nintendo, from what I remember him saying. But the arcade was a different story. Now, the reason I'm saying that is because that's what held a special place in my heart. Once I saw the arcade game and the movie itself, I guess I garnered that much more love for the movie. And I can remember watching that movie. I don't know how I got a hold of it. I either recorded it on VCR tape or VHS tape, or I borrowed it off of my stepdad's family. They had a ton of VHS tapes. And I'm talking like, back in the day when VHS tapes were expensive, early 90s, late 80s, I can remember them having the whole collection of the first, like Star Trek 1 through 5.
Wow.
And this is before 6 came out. It was an actual collector set, So I'm fairly certain they had the Indiana Jones movies. And I'd convince them, hey, can I borrow these and watch them? And I would watch Temple of Doom over and over. I don't want to continue to harp on that, but there you go. That's my first ever inclination, or first ever meeting up with Indiana Jones. And now Raiders, like I said, came afterwards from network TV, which is just not good. If it's on ABC, NBC, that was I can remember it just wasn't as good as what I finally seen on film.
Right.
So, or excuse me, on VHS, uncut. So,
Yeah.
But yeah, there you go. There's my 2 cents. How about you, Ronnie Adams?
My first experience with the Indiana Jones character was actually Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Okay.
And now, granted, I was only 3 at the time that it came out.
Do you remember? Do you remember?
No.
Do you remember it at all? I mean, do you remember the fanfare or anything like that coming around it?
I remember Temple of Doom, because Temple of Doom came out in '84, and I, like you, was 6 years old.
Yeah.
So I remember the hype around Temple of Doom, because Raiders of the Lost Ark was such a hit, and the character was such a hit, and everybody loved Indiana Jones. Everybody loved Harrison Ford. I remember my parents going out on a date night to go see Raiders of the Lost Ark, and I stayed with my mamaw, which is a West Virginia term for grandmother. So I think I was with mamaw that night, either mamaw or grandma. And they went to see it, and I was like, "Can I go see it? Can I go see it?" And they're like, "It's PG, but it's a little. We heard it's a little too rough for kids, because then there was G, there was PG, and there was R.
Yeah."
And there was no PG-13 in between.
Mm-hmm.
And this and Gremlins were both credited with making a PG-13 rating. Or not this, but Temple of Doom.
Temple of Doom.
And Gremlins were credited with, them coming up with an extra rating to keep kids under 13 out of the, movies that are a little harsher.
Such as grabbing hearts from chests and
having
people burned alive and chilled monkey brains.
But I remember watching Raiders of the Lost Ark, and just the iconic scene with the boulder coming down. After he took the I'm going to use my microphone, when he was sitting there with the sand, and and he did the switch, and it's just, he was the coolest character ever, because when you find out that he's not only an adventurer, with the whip and the pistol, and fighting guys with swords and Nazis, but he was also incredibly smart, and he was a professor too.
Yes.
And a doctor. He had a doctorate. So he was like, I remember being on Source Material and talking about League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and Alan Quatermain.
Yeah.
So he's got this Alan Quatermain, or however you say his name. You've got this Alan Quatermain feel to him, but in my opinion, and now I haven't read a lot of the Alan Quatermain novels or anything, or stories, I should say, or seen any of the movies, but man, he's so much cooler, because he's got that big old hand cannon pistol. Well, at least what the sound effects sounded like, and and he could wrap that whip around whatever, and he could swing across chasms and use it as an offensive weapon and a defensive weapon. So my first experience with Indiana Jones was Raiders of the Lost Ark, and then Temple of the Doom came later.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, I mean, my mom is, I credit her with my nerd, I guess you could say nerddom, or my nerd title, because she made sure that I watched stuff like this, like Star Wars and Indiana Jones, and because she knew I would love it.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up loving this stuff. So she made sure that I got to see, when she found out I could handle it, at that age, I got to see Raiders of the Lost Ark and Temple of Doom. And I actually went to the movie theaters to see Last Crusade.
Nice. That's a good one to go see in the theater.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And then, go ahead.
I was going to say, let me hijack you real quick.
Yeah,
all
go
right?
for it, man.
All right, 1981. No looking. All right, you don't stay off that computer. 1981.
Hands.
I'm on Wikipedia right now.
Mm-hmm.
I went to 1981 in film. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Number one movie of 1981, Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Right.
Would you care to guess number two?
Oh, man, that's a good one.
I would never guess this in my entire life.
Well, I mean,
And I've never seen this
81
movie. I've never seen this movie either, so that might narrow things down for you.
Well, you
Imagine number 2 out of all of 1981. Okay. Let me just. I'll tell you this real quick. I'll give you a couple. I'll give you a couple hints. Okay, Raiders of the Lost Ark domestic gross $212 million. Okay.
Okay.
Number 2 is a Universal Pictures film, 1981, domestic gross of $119 million. So if you can get it from maybe the
I know two movies.
Okay.
I don't know if it's Universal, but I know 2 movies that came out in 81.
All right.
And I can't decide which one of the 2. One of them was Superman 2.
Okay, that's number 3.
And the other one is On Golden Pond.
Bull crap. How did you know? There's no way.
I've watched On Golden Pond I don't know how many times.
Okay, first off, I've never seen the movie. So what happens in On Golden Pond? Can you give me
Old people.
Oh, and this is Ronnie Adams?
I've seen it. I can't help it.
Whatever, man. Come on. Well, you're looking at screens. You're looking at your iPad or something.
No, I'm not. My iPad is sitting right next to me.
All right. I guess what? I'll allow it. I will allow it.
You better allow it because I did good.
You did good. Number 2, man. On Golden Pond. Who did it star anyway?
Katharine Hepburn, and I can't remember the dude that was in it because he wore the fisherman. No,
all right.
He was young.
He's doing Dirty Harry probably at that time.
He wore the fisherman cap. I just remember that.
Henry Fonda. Wow.
Yeah, and
Dabney Coleman's in this. Dabney Coleman.
Dabney Coleman, yeah. Dabney Coleman's my favorite Dabney Coleman movie. Wow,
Say that one more time.
Dabney Coleman movie was Cloak and Dagger.
He's still alive to this day too.
Yeah,
84 years old, and years active 1961 to present. It's interesting.
Wow. If you haven't seen Cloak and Dagger, it's phenomenal.
I remember Cloak and Dagger. I do remember that movie. Well, I say I remember. I remember seeing it probably twice. So it's been a very long time since I've actually watched that one. But I can remember liking it when I was a kid.
Yeah, Cloak and Dagger is a great movie.
Yeah. But On Golden Pond, nice yoink, as they say. You did a good job, man.
I have no life. What do you expect? I know movies. I know stupid geeky stuff too.
Hey, shout out to Dave G. Pie. Isn't he a Time Bandits fan?
Yeah, he is.
Number 10, 1981.
Time Bandits.
Yep. All right. Don't we have a guest in here now?
No, he left.
He came on and then he left?
I'm texting him right now.
He's like, this stupid show. People start when
and he's back.
There we go. Nice hat.
What are you talking about?
I don't know. What's the topic of the show, Ronnie?
On Golden Pond. Dabney Coleman's greatest hits. Yes, that is what we're talking about.
That's absolutely right, son. And for
you missed it. You missed it.
I missed what?
Missed the whole first half hour.
I know. I have. I was out. No, I was trying to. I was trying to recover the cross of Coronado, and everybody was lost but me. So
now you're getting into young Indiana Jones.
No, sir. No. That's Last Crusade.
Hold on.
Technically,
I got it. Just chill.
Technically,
Technically, it is.
It's
young Indiana Jones. Yeah, you've got a leather jacket, a Star Wars T-shirt, and an Indiana Jones hat on.
Does he have the whip around his? You don't have the whip.
I do have the whip, but it's put up, and
I'm
afraid that little hands might get a hold of it.
Have you?
Hurts.
Adam, your hands aren't that little.
My children's hand. Hey, do these look like little hands to you?
His wife hit it on him.
Have you cracked the whip? Have you actually
Yeah, I can, but it's a lot harder to do than you might think.
That's what I've heard. I've seen.
Yeah.
Have you ever attempted it, Jesse?
No, I don't know. Well, I tell you what, there's been many jump ropes that I've had, and I've tried.
You afraid the end of it? Yeah, I mean, I can do it, and I've done it a couple times, but it's like there's a technique, like you've got to like bring it around, like when you're little. And this is me being a complete and total Indiana Jones nerd, but like it makes sense for him to when you know in Last Crusade where he just kind of brings it up and back down and he gets his chin. That actually happens.
That happens.
That's what happens when you do that. It hits you in the face. So you've got to like bring it around you like a lasso and bring it down like across your body. Mm-hmm. So that there's a little end of it, like a little thing on the end that actually you can replace, but it's like a little piece of like frayed rope or something.
They got a name for it, don't they?
Yeah, and I can't remember the name of it, but
keep going.
But that's what actually what makes the crack sound. So you can get different sounds out of it.
I call it the cracker.
What, is that what it's called?
No, I have no idea.
Oh, I used to know this. Let's be honest. I have to brag on myself a little bit.
Oh, here we go. I was top whip cracker in my school.
Hey, technically, yes. I worked at a camp, and I was a counselor for the kids' camp, and it was called River Valley Ranch. Shout out to RVR. Wonderful time, and they had cowboys on. They split it between the teen camp and the kid camp. And each camp had cowboys, so take them on horseback rides and do little shows and stuff like that. So the cowboys were really cool. That was your like dream job to be a cowboy at this camp because when they weren't doing anything, of course they took care of the horses and stuff like that, but they just got to walk around in cowboy hats and be cool. So when they bring the kids, the first night the kids come to camp, and it was like my first night with kids because it was the first week we had them, and we were watching the Cowboys. We were like, hey, we want to introduce you to our Cowboys or to your Cowboys. There were two guys and a girl. Well, they did some gun stuff and all this, and this girl pulls out this long piece of styrofoam and puts it in her teeth, and a guy took a whip and cut it down to like this big. And it was incredible. And I was like, man, that's some Indiana Jones crap right there.
Dang.
So I walked up to him. I was like, you've got to teach me how to crack a whip. So, and I learned, man, I could crack it, different ways and, and I learned how to lasso too. That doesn't really mean anything right now. But
That's still Cowboy, man. It counts.
Well, no, I mean, not Indiana Jones, but I could crack a whip. And I asked him, I said, can you, if I wanted to? And this is in my younger days when I would try stupid stuff like this. And I still do try. I said, can I wrap this whip around this tree limb and swing on it? And they just looked at me like I was an idiot. And I said, I will take that as a no. So, but I learned how to swing a whip and crack it and carry on like that. And it was the coolest thing ever. So it's hard, but once you get it down, man, it's the coolest sound in the world. And
it's such a cool man trick, you know what I mean?
And I don't know if I could do it to this day. I probably can't. But I
was just going to say, the bullwhip consists of a handle section, a thong, a fall, and a cracker.
A cracker. There you go.
Or a popper. So they say.
Popper.
What's up, cracker?
What's up?
I laughed at my own joke.
Yeah, it's like liking your own status.
Yeah, I've never done that.
That's funny you say that though, Ronnie, is because on the bonus material that come with the DVDs on Blu-ray, one of the things that they address on there is on, and you can see it.
Yeah.
This is becoming a.
He's sneaking down from the top. If you remember, he's on the top of the thuggy ceremonies, and he's kind of going through the little chamber they're in, and he's climbing down. He takes his whip and he wraps it around this big, huge, I don't want to say edifice, but it's like a sculpture, like gargoyle that's out there. That can't happen in real life because there's not enough. You have to wrap that thing around there, like they said,
40 million times.
Yeah, because it won't support your weight,
Right.
But it's just cool for movies.
Well, yeah.
The Mythbusters did a tremendous
Oh, they did.
homage, or
Oh, did they really?
Yeah, it was an episode too. I think just strictly, it was either Indiana Jones. I'm pretty sure it was just all Indiana Jones stuff, and they had built something that you're talking about there, Adam, where they had a, I think it was Indiana Jones. I'm fairly certain it was, because Adam Savage had it, just look like just like you coming out to the podcast with his hat on and everything. But he tried to do that swing across a crevasse or whatever while this something or other was coming after him. But it was a great episode.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to watch it because they're all on Hulu now. I think if they're on Hulu, I'm gonna watch them.
Check it out.
So real quick, Adam, we asked each other this question, Jesse and I. What was your first exposure to the Indiana Jones character?
Oh gosh, I was probably in first grade. Indiana Jones has always been my idol. I mean, we're talking. It was maybe 1989. I had the Indiana Jones posters. I had the actual, because at the time my older sister worked at a movie theater, and she brought home the Last Crusade movie poster, and I still have it. I just don't know where it is, but that hung in my room all up until college. And I didn't take it to college with me because I was like, it'll get ruined at college. I'll lose it. So that was my very first exposure was probably around 1988, 1989. But it was in the form of Last Crusade. So I saw that one first, and I fell in love with the character Indiana Jones because he was everything that I aspired to be. The rough and tumble guy who had his weaknesses. And I mean, I wouldn't at the time. I was like maybe 7.
I was gonna say,
it wasn't like I was
at that
thinking all
time you
this
didn't
stuff.
think he's.
No, I just thought, man, this guy's freaking cool because he gets to wear. He was to wear the jacket, the hat, the gun, the whip.
What movie did you watch first?
Last Crusade.
Last Crusade, yeah. Okay, I missed it somewhere.
Yeah,
I knew.
Crusade
I was thinking about having a Last Crusade movie poster. I think because I heard that and I was like, wow.
Yeah. So if you look at some of the pictures around that time, I'm wearing because my dad had a leather jacket and I would roll the sleeves up on it, and I had he had a hat, and I would wear the fedora, and I would make whips out of rope. And here's a fun fact about Adam. I learned to braid for this very reason.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, I would braid. I have 2 sisters, so it was really like the stuff to braid with was pretty common. So I just kind of had it laying around. So I would take like rope or string, and I would braid them all together, and I would tie them to a little what I would call a hilt. I guess it's called something else on a whip, but
handle.
Yes, and I would tie them to that, or I would like staple it to that, and I would make my own whips out of them. It was awesome.
Nice.
So, we've talked about our first experiences with the character and childhood memories and everything. I can remember as a child, they called me because I liked Indiana Jones so much, and my dad. I remember. We had this creek going down where I live, and I lived in a holler in West Virginia between 2 mountains.
Right outside his mammal's.
No, they lived up the road on an actual road. So at this time, our road was not paved. I remember that. We had a driveway and everything, and just led out to a gravel road. But we had this creek that ran by our road, two rows of houses or whatever on each side, but the creek was across the road from me. So, I love playing in that creek, and even though my mom was not a fan of me playing in that, so I would just throw on old clothes and jump down in it and just walk the creek. And I remember as being young, 8 or 9 or 7 or however old I was, it came up to about waist high on me at some points, and just wading through it, looking for, whatever, because back then it looked like I was walking, through the Amazon jungle, everything was grown up and imagination. At one point, I probably had a toy whip on my hip, in my hand, and I wrapped around, the belt loops in my shorts or jeans or whatever else I had on. I always had a toy gun with me. And they called me some guys down the road like, "Oh, there's Indiana Ronnie," and I remember that now. And
nice.
And because I was always exploring down through the creek and walking through there, and so I loved that. These movies, I guess, because of that stage, in my life and being a young boy and always wanting to explore and go look, are near and dear to me because this character, that's all he does is he goes and explores and he finds artifacts and cool stuff and he fights Nazis in the middle.
Oh yeah, man.
Yeah. So, my next question for you guys, after your first exposure, as a kid with it, mine being Raiders, it's a really cool that it went with it. Mine was Raiders. Jesse was Temple of Doom, and yours was Last Crusade. So that's pretty cool that it went through all three. And what is your Yeah, I'll go with this one. Out of the three, Jesse, we'll start with you. Which one is your favorite? Out of the four.
Out of the four,
which one is your favorite?
I think honestly the third one, Last Crusade, was my favorite. A lot of people love Raiders, and I know we're going to get some. I think we'll hear from you here in a few, Ronnie, about Raiders of the Lost Ark. I would assume, but you never know. Hey, I don't want to spoil the podcast or anything.
Spoiler alert.
I have no idea. I'm just trying to recall stuff from 2 years ago when we were talking about this, and I told you all about how Raiders was I can't even remember.
Indiana Jones was a non-factor in Raiders.
Yes,
and I still think that's blasphemy.
That has been disproven. But anyway, yes, Last Crusade out of all four is absolutely my favorite one. The chemistry between Harrison Ford and Sean Connery in that movie make you feel like they are honestly father and son.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's probably it's a lot of my movie sentimentality comes from watching shows with my dad. Because my dad was he's a huge action fan. I don't get to watch too many movies with him. But he loves watching action movies, and getting to watch The Last Crusade with him was probably one of my favorite memories. And I'm fairly certain I did not go to the theaters to watch this. This was something that we rented on a Saturday night, got Domino's pizza, and sat down in front of the floor model TV and turned it up really loud.
Yes, the console.
And watched the show. A lot of nostalgia there. But I revisited all three of these movies. I haven't watched the fourth one in quite a while, so I'm pretty sure I just watched all three, like I said, a year or so ago. And to this day, man, I still think that Last Crusade has every one of them beat in terms of chemistry on screen and some of the fun stuff that happens in that movie. I mean, the Knights Templar. You have chosen. How's it go?
Poorly. You have chosen poorly.
Yeah, or chosen wisely.
You have chosen wisely, but he looks at the others whenever they do the face melting thing again, and he withers away, and he's like, he chose poorly.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
So
and I'm glad you mentioned that though, because literally after seeing that part, every decision that I've ever made in my entire life since seeing that's what I think. I'm not even kidding. I'm like, oh man, do I want Mexican or Chinese tonight? And then later on, I'm like, oh, you chose poorly, Adam.
After the Mexican film, you're destroying everything and everyone around you.
When you watch these three movies, okay, I really think Raiders is a very serious take on some stuff. And then Temple of Doom seems like it's really the lighter side of things, even though people will complain about the gore in it. it seems like there's way more humor in that one than I can remember being in the first one.
Yeah, they kicked it up a notch.
And then Last Crusade hits, and I read somewhere where supposedly Spielberg said Last Crusade was his apology for Temple of Doom.
What?
Yes, because he was.
I don't know, man.
He was upset because he didn't think Temple of Doom really showed what he, his heart and soul, what he wanted to happen in that particular movie. So Last Crusade ended up being his way of saying, okay, here it is. This is the fun adventure that you're looking for. This is it's an adventure movie, plain and simple. And that's what's I think rings really true with Last Crusade and why it's my favorite.
Very nice. Adam.
My favorite, oh man, and it's for me, it changes. It literally changes because every year there are certain movies that I watch every year, and it'll change. I'll watch like The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, but Indiana Jones I watch every year around Christmas, and I don't know why. And I think it's because when I first got my first set, I have a couple sets of the DVDs. And the first set I got were the VHS DVDs. And previous to that, are the ones you could buy them from McDonald's back in the early 90s. That's where I got them from. But my favorite
from
one
McDonald's?
right now. Yeah, you used to be able to get them from McDonald's. Like you could go up and you would just be like, hey, can I get what? And they would have one like 1 month at a time. They would give you they would offer the Indiana Jones VHS tapes.
Wow,
and
that's so cool.
They probably had stacks of movies. Man, I would love to have worked here.
I'm heading to the internet right now. You go ahead and keep talking.
Yeah. But right now, my favorite one has got to be Raiders of the Lost Ark. Because I just watched that one. We moved into a new house. Just watched this one, and we had outdoor movie night when we got my fence put in. And outdoor movie night was Raiders of the Lost Ark. We had our big sheet hung on the side of the house with the little projector that really wasn't bright enough to do anything, and we would watch it. And we would sit and watch Raiders of the Lost Ark while my kids were in the back just playing and goofing off and being obnoxious. So we would just sit and watch it. So right now, my favorite is Raiders of the Lost Ark. But growing up, it was definitely Last Crusade because just like Jesse, it has a nostalgia value to me because it was the first one I ever saw, and I loved it so much that my babysitter, I was in first grade. I had a babysitter over the summer, and she was my first grade teacher, and she knew that I liked Indiana Jones, so I made her take me to archaeological digs in St. Albans, West Virginia, and I would wear the jacket and the hat, and they would let me go down into these pits.
What?
And
No.
they would let me dig around for like arrowheads and stuff like that, and I would pretend that I was Indiana Jones. So for years it was Last Crusade, and I mean I would make out of clay the cup, the Grail, the Holy Grail. I made that out of clay, and like I baked it in the oven and everything. I painted it. I mean, it was like I'm telling you, I was like I still am a huge Indiana Jones fan.
That's awesome.
So for the longest time, and then there was my emo years where I thought Temple of Doom was cool just because he ripped the heart out and everything. So spoiler alert, there's a heart that got ripped out.
You ruined it for everyone.
No, but right now it's Raiders of the Lost Ark because it's just so classic, and it brings back a lot of memories for me as a kid, and it's stuff that I want my kids to enjoy. So I'm trying to push that on them as soon as possible because literally the only thing in Raiders of the Lost Ark that I don't want them to see is the face melting scene. So and that's at the very end, so they can watch like 99% of the movie.
Why not? I mean,
here's the thing. My son was traumatized when the big German gets shredded up by the freaking propeller.
That's what traumatized me as a kid. I will say traumatized, but that's the part I didn't like.
Like seeing the blood. That was funny.
I laughed at the face melting part.
I can remember. See, that was one of the things. Was watching with Caleb. He was doing his best to be interested in it, and he was fairly somewhat caught up in what was going on. And then I was like, oh man, watch this fight. It's going to get good. And then, of course, he turns into the propeller and then blood sprays all over the plane. And Caleb's like, Dad, you let me watch this? You're a bad dad. That's horrible. I'm going to have nightmares. I'm like, I'm sorry, son. I thought I apologize. You better go watch. You better go watch those Mortal Kombat fatalities on YouTube.
Yeah, really.
What's so funny is that it's he has no problem watching video game absolute gore, but as soon as it looks like something happens to a real person, that crosses a line for him, and he is like, no, he wants out of there. He doesn't want to deal with actually trying to comprehend death or dismemberment on a real level. But you can watch somebody's face get shoved into a saw, and we have no problem with that on a video game. So anyway, there you go.
They had cups.
They did. I remember as a kid.
I've got to find these things. Continue.
I remember as a kid, I laughed at the face melting. Now the craziness that came out of the arc at the end of Raiders, and the wailing spirits and all that scared me as a kid.
Really?
Yeah, and a little bit. It's like, ooh, I don't like that. But the face melting part, I laughed. I was like, because it was kind of claymation, and two, I was like,
wax. It was wax.
You can buy.
Thank you, Adam.
Did you know that you can buy a candle? I heard this.
What? Can you really?
Whoa! Bring the nerd back in.
Down. I want to go find this candle.
Nope. You knew what this was when you started the Indy episode.
Anyway, as a kid, I laughed at that part, but it was the realistic turning into the propellers that are the propeller that got to me.
Yeah,
it was the realism of that. So it's probably the same thing with your son. Like the realism of that is kind of scary over top of a video game. Video game doesn't matter, because it's a video game. It's make believe.
Mm-hmm.
The video games for this were awful.
So
they were so bad.
They were. But I think my favorite movie, and this is going to surprise you, Jesse. The first one, I'll say the first one is a favorite. And I'll always say that right off. But if I'm being a true fan, if I'm being true to myself, Raiders holds a special place in my heart because it's the first Indiana Jones movie I saw.
Mm-hmm.
And I like it, and it is one of my favorites out of the whole thing. But my favorite is always going to be Temple of Doom.
Oh,
because it's fun, it's lighthearted. We look at the three movies. The first one is more into the seriousness and almost realism until you get to the face melting. You've got the shootouts, the fist fights, and the hand burning, the amulet burning into the hand.
Yes.
All this stuff, I'm like, while it's on a grand scale, I mean, it could happen. It was almost the realism. That's the adventure movie.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is the fantasy movie. The burning stones, the pulling out hearts, the Kali Ma, people in somewhere deep in India that eat chilled monkey brains and tarantulas and large beetles and things like that. It was almost a fantasy film for me because of all this craziness.
The magic, the black magic. Yeah.
I was just going to say, when you look at the Indiana Jones films, and I think Spielberg does a great job with in a lot of his films, is that he brings in elements of action and adventure and the elements of, I'm going to say, paranormal. It's because when you look at Raiders, I mean, at the end of that, just like you said, it's a bunch of spirits that come out of, it's the Ark of the Covenant, for crying out loud. And then you got Temple of Doom, which is just takes paranormal to the nth level. I mean, you got possession in that movie. You have,
voodoo or whatever.
Voodoo,
Yeah, it is
exactly.
voodoo. Well,
now,
the Indian
help me
version.
out
Not
with
really.
Crusades. Crusade, we're talking the Holy Grail.
Mm-hmm. Well, it goes back to its religious roots. I mean,
Yes.
because if you go into the
The occult.
Judeo-Christian,
It's more of an occult type thing.
if you go into the Judeo-Christian belief, the Holy Grail, or the Holy Grail, the Holy Grail is what they've caught the blood of Christ in, and when he was crucified, the Ark of the Covenant is literally in the temple, in the Jewish temple. That was where God dwelt. And in the Bible, it tells you that they carried it on sticks, on poles, because anybody that touched it died. And there's actually a story in the Bible where they were carrying it across a creek and someone misstepped and it was going to fall.
Yeah.
And he reached out to grab it and he fell dead. Even though he was trying to keep it off the ground,
trying to save the ark,
and trying to save God's seat. That's where he dwelt. He reached out to grab it to keep it from touching the ground. He reached out and touched God's holiness, and he died. So I mean, it's one of those things where the lid blew off the ark and all the spirits came out, and I was like, now I look at him like that's a little inaccurate, but but they added that element into it of of course the Nazis were trying to tap into the power that was in the into the ark, the Ark of the Covenant, and they were obviously unworthy, so they were dispatched quickly, and it was I like that, but the second one, and I think what clinches it to this day for me, is that opening sequence.
With you talking about in the bar.
In Club Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Did you know that was named that, Jesse?
I had no idea, no.
Yeah.
It was named Club Obi-Wan.
Nice.
And, anything goes, singing it in
Mandarin. Yeah.
And, the fist fight while he's poisoned. Give me the antidote. Let me find the diamond. It's just the best opening sequence of a movie ever. And then they go out and they jump into the car, and there's a small Chinese boy waiting on them to drive the car.
Short Round.
No time for love.
And he's like, his name is Short Round, and he has boxes on his feet because he can't reach the pedals.
And that might be that kid element in this particular movie really spoke to me when I was a child also. Hence why I would sit there and watch it over and over and over. And one of the things that I remember specifically from that movie that really it wasn't the heart coming out of the chest. That was cool.
Yeah.
It wasn't people bursting into flames.
Right.
That was cool.
That was cool.
But the one thing that really disturbed me in this particular movie was the fight between Short Round and the other kid. Yeah, and the other kid.
Yeah.
The Prince.
Yes. That messed me up because he's sitting there jabbing that thing into Indy's back, and and Short Round's got to kick his butt, and I'm like, these kids are my age and they're fighting, and it really messed me up because I thought somebody was actually going to have to die. Oh, remember the big thuggy guy gets his cape trapped, or he gets his rope trapped in the thing, and then he's trying to save him and he can't.
There's always that one guy that goes up against Indiana Jones that he's fighting him. In Raiders, it was the Nazi mechanic.
Yep.
Who was looked like a pro wrestler, and
I think he was a pro wrestler. I think I don't know if he was German.
I think so.
I think he was,
but he threw the punches and he hit him, and the guy laughed, and he threw one punch and knocked Indiana Jones on his butt. He literally fell down on his butt and just sat down because he got hit so hard. And then it's that big burly, I don't know, dude that gets his cape caught, and he, it's always some environmental kill that saves Indiana Jones. But Murphy's Law, everything that will go wrong can, but he always falls in crap and comes up smelling like roses. And my favorite, we'll save that. We'll get to that in a second. So Okay,
Hold
go
on.
ahead. Yeah,
He was a
One
he was a
more.
boxer. He was a boxer, by the way. His name was Pat Roach.
yeah.
Okay, all right.
Actually, no, I'm sorry. Professional wrestler. Yeah, Pat Roach. Professional wrestler.
Okay.
Anyway.
All right, no looking. Stay off of Stay off of the W. I was about to spell wiki, by the way. I was going to spell it. Stay off of www.wiki. Stay off of wiki here. All right, 1984. You guys would not believe the films that came out in 1984. All right, so I'll go ahead and give you Indiana Jones where it sits in the top 10. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom sits number 3. With $179 million. Okay. All right. Now, I'm going to give you guys a chance to guess top 2. All right. We'll start with Adam this time. Adam, give us one of the top 2 films of 1984. No looking.
Return of the Jedi.
And we go to Ronnie for what was Return of the Jedi? It's not top listed.
2. Well, it's 1984, so one of them's got to be Ghostbusters.
Okay. That's number 2.
And it's 1984.
By the way, Return of the Jedi was 1983. It was the year I was born, so I was born.
83
1 year.
I know nothing.
You know nothing.
77 was New Hope. 80 was Empire. 83 was Return of the Jedi. 1984 was Ghostbusters.
He's looking up to the sky, looking
Beverly
for that.
Hills Cop.
No way! Unbelievable.
What now? What did he get? What is it?
Beverly Hills Cop was number 1.
Was that number 1? And
Yes.
Ghostbusters?
That was impressive. That is impressive.
Ghostbusters comes in at $229 million. Beverly Hills Cop comes in at $234 million. Beats it by just 5.
Where was Gremlins?
Number 4, right underneath the Temple of Doom.
Where was Karate Kid?
Number 5 is Karate Kid. All right. Number 6, the first of a multi-movie franchise. You want to try and guess, Ronnie?
Police Academy.
Number 6, Police Academy.
You said multi-movie franchise.
Let's see. Okay, I want to do number 9, and I'm going to give this one over to Adam. Number 9. All right, third movie of a multi-movie franchise. Can you guess what it is? No peeking. He's looking. He's peeking. No.
This is number 9.
He's consulting the.
Are you looking?
You're a cheater.
Looking. You're a cheater.
Third movie of a great franchise. Okay, we've already said Return of the Jedi's out.
Yeah, he's looking. He's consulting the Tesseract.
Now I'm talking to you, Adam.
Me?
You're the guy.
No, you're the guy that's supposed to be guessing this.
Oh, I wasn't paying any attention at all.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I thought you were asking Ronnie.
No.
Okay.
No, I've already impressed, so I'm just going to sit back and let you do your thing.
No, I got a message from one of my friends. I posted some stuff up on Facebook, and he asked if we were going to talk about how Amy Farrah Fowler ruined Indiana Jones for Shelton. And I was like, I'm not sure that I'm aware of how
we're not going to talk about that because I don't know how.
I don't know how that happened.
No, that is the ruin that I told you guys about with Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah,
it actually showed up on Big Bang Theory first. I don't know about first, but it was brought up on there, and of course it gained a lot of steam about how
that's right.
Indiana Jones was a non-factor in Raiders, but we've had that discussion actually on Facebook, and you can go onto the web and find out that Indiana Jones was actually pretty.
My utter disgust for that.
No. Well, yeah,
Adam,
that was
your question. Is this? You're not getting out of this. Number 9 in 1984.
Third movie of a multi-movie franchise.
And
Return of the Jedi
honestly,
is not in there.
The only franchise I know that came out in 84 was Police Academy.
So the franchise, the third movie that came out in a franchise was it
This
Back
is
to the
like
Future?
third movie though.
This is like early days of sequels too. I mean,
Was it Back to the Future?
Back to the Future 3 did not come out until 1990, I believe.
Oh.
So I think 2 was 89, and
yeah, because I remember seeing.
And Back to the Future was 85.
That's right.
what a golden year for movies. I think 93 was.
He's
avoiding
it.
He's avoiding it, and he's trying to look it up. I know he's trying to look it up.
In my hands, I'm not looking anything
If you don't
up.
know what it is, I'll go ahead and give the answer.
I'm not conceding, sir.
Dude,
Dude, we've only got
I will waste our
our
entire
poor-
podcast.
No, you
listeners.
won't. We've only got like 18 hours of live time.
Here's
Just
the
answer
thing.
the question.
How many minutes have people been listening to this podcast and screaming the answer at their radio /
Because I honestly
iPod /
goodness don't
iPhone?
know this, but I said
yeah.
start in 84, but it didn't start in 84.
Let's do process of elimination. Okay.
Oh, we're getting a caller here. Let me take. I'm just kidding.
Whatever. Okay, so what movies do you think in the early 80s, mid 80s had 3 movies already under their belt? Okay. Now I can think of one we've already discussed.
I have a guess.
And then there's maybe one other that I can think of that would have had a sequel at the time. But it's
too early for Back to the Future. It's too late for the Star Wars franchise.
Yep.
Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom came out this year.
Yep.
The only one I can think of.
Never Story also came out this year, by the way.
Right, but it's
it?
not number 3 of a franchise. And it didn't break the top 10. I know that.
No.
Star Trek.
That is correct. Star Trek 3.
That was gonna be the next one. I promise.
Ronnie, please continue with the podcast. Unbelievable.
Man, if I had used these powers for good, I don't know. Where was Footloose on that? Because did it come out in 84 or 85?
Dude, you were rocketing down like the freaking. You were Police Academy 6, 7's Footloose, 8 is Romancing the Stone.
Ooh,
9,
I love that movie.
9
it came out in 84.
9 is Star Trek 3, and number 10, a Tom Hanks vehicle. I think John Candy had an appearance in this one. Care to guess what it is?
Tom Hanks, 1984.
Is it The Burbs?
I'm fairly sure it was Tom Hanks.
No, The Burbs came out in 89, 90.
Who was in this? Let me double check this and make sure. Okay, directed by Ron Howard, starring Tom Hanks, John Candy, Eugene Levy,
Turner Hooch?
Dodie and
Yeah, John Candy played Hooch.
Hey, you know what? I'm throwing stuff out here. I'm trying not to look this crap up, man.
All right, I'll give you one more co-star. I give you one more co-star, and it's going to seal the deal. I guarantee it. Daryl Hannah.
Splash.
Yes, sir.
The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai.
Adam Runyon, ladies.
Splash was in the top 10?
Splash was number 10, man.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Ron Howard, man. I mean,
Ron Howard. Great movie, though.
Yeah, I enjoy that one. That's a good one. Yeah. It's a good love story.
All right. So, Jesse, what is it? Back to Indiana Jones after that massive rabbit trail. What is it about Indiana Jones? I mean, you've seen all the movies. You've seen even the 4th one. What is it about this character that makes him so special and makes us like him and want to be him so much? What is it for you?
I love how he goes into his adventures, and he knows what he's going to do. Okay, he's got to go get the idol. All right, sure, and he does not stop, and he also is a force for good. I mean, we're talking Nazis. You can't let the Nazis have control.
You can't let Nazis have anything.
You can't let them have control.
They're the reason the world doesn't have nice things.
And he's almost kind of a reluctant hero as well.
Yeah, he really is a reluctant hero.
He absolutely is.
He gets roped into that the whole thuggy cult thing. He does not want to do that at all in that movie, but he feels compelled to save these kids. I mean, who wouldn't? And he knows what he's going up against. He's not just going up against 2 or 3 or 4 guys. He's going up against a whole slew of evildoers in that
Yeah,
particular
and it's like hundreds of years worth of history there in like that one temple, and he goes against the entire thing. Yeah, that's awesome.
And people were crying for new Indiana Jones. They wanted a fourth one. How bad did we want the fourth one to succeed? How excited
Before we get onto that, before we get on, let me answer the question that Ronnie just posed. For me, Indiana Jones he was a true adventurer. He had a real set of skills, and he wasn't good at really any of them. You know, he wasn't a very good fighter. He wasn't a very good. I mean, he was a professor.
Fighter.
You know, he wasn't a great fighter. He punched and kicked, and he was a street fighter.
Right. He was a brawler, man.
Right. Exactly. He was, but he wasn't particularly great at it. You know what I mean?
He wasn't going to fight. He wasn't going to fight either if he didn't have to.
Right.
Exactly.
The only fights that he lost were against the big guys, though. The ones that physically overpowered him.
True, right. But my point is, he would rather not really run from a fight, but he would rather not fight and try to use his wits to get out of a fight than to actually fight. But he would not think twice about cracking some Nazi in the face, because he did that when he was getting into remember Last Crusade, when he shows up at the that manor, and he's like, I'm here to see the tapestries. And he's like, the tapestries? He's like, you don't have tapestries? And then he punches the guy right in the face because he gets him to read this thing. He's like, pop, right in the face.
Right. You know? Well, he's talking about, I remember that, because it's the tapestries, and he said, and if you're Scottish, then I am Mickey Mouse. Yes. And he just knocks him out.
Right.
But I remember, that was his way onto aboard the Nazis, Nazi sub, the ship. When he knocked a soldier out and took his hat and his clothes, and then the officer came by and he's like, "You look like crap," and then he knocked the officer out and took his clothes.
But to me, that's one of the most classic parts of that movie, when he dresses like the Nazi and he hands his father's Grail diary to Hitler, and Hitler signs it.
Yes,
and he gives it back to him. It's one of the best things. But with Indiana Jones, his skills are entirely obtainable. Like, you can go to college, you can become a doctor, and you can become an archaeologist. The thing with me, though, is with the reason, because I'm not kidding. When I graduated high school, I thought, do I want to be an archaeologist? I swear I thought about it. But
the archaeologist
Marshall University did not offer an archaeology degree. They offered an anthropology degree, and I was like, I don't want to study humans. I want to study. I want to go on adventures. But then I started looking into it, and you really don't in real life.
No, archaeologists, they just dig stuff up. Now, don't get me wrong, archaeology is cool in its own right.
Oh, dude, I'd love to get paid to do that, man.
Yeah, but
you don't get paid. You don't get paid. That's the thing.
But you also don't carry a pistol on your hip and a whip.
Nah, that's true.
You just
they don't let you do that.
A brush and a magnifying glass if you carry anything, a shovel.
Right. But the thing is, like I was saying, I'll finish this, I promise. Then we can get on Indiana Jones 4. So, but like I was saying, the thing, me either. But we have to talk about it because it's the gigantic gorilla.
I don't want to.
But you could be Indiana Jones if you actually wanted to, and Temple of Doom was also my first foray in how to win a girl, because he showed interest, and then all of a sudden his work consumed him. When they're
small
in
Asian sidekick. Sorry. Wow.
Yeah. This was before they started selling those on the internet.
Wow. Okay.
But anyway,
over.
But anyway, so what I was saying, I don't even remember when they were in the Indian palace. And they're talking about, he's kind of saying one thing, and she's like, "Oh, I'll take, this and that." They're kind of going back and forth with a little banter, about their nocturnal activities. And he goes into his room, and he gets attacked by a thuggy assassin. And he takes the whip, and he wraps it around the guy's throat, and he throws it up into the fan, and the fan pulls him up, And then he
hangs him. Yeah.
It's a powerful fan, by the way.
Yeah, it's a terribly powerful fan. That was going exactly like, the fans in this movie and Raiders, they don't do anything. What's it trying to do? They spin around at it's just they're so slow, and they don't do anything to kick it. Okay, I'm done. The fans bothered me.
Well, the fans also have probably 1,000 pounds of torque to be able to pull a full-grown human man.
At that point, it's not a fan; it's a propeller.
It is. It's like they hung a propeller on the ceiling.
It's not it's a
anyway,
winch. It's not.
Go ahead and tell us
winch.
how you're winning women over by being attacked by assassins.
To win a girl over by being attacked by assassins is very easy. So what you do is you kind of play with their emotions a little bit.
I'm editing all this out, by the way.
Why? Why?
Because I don't want your wife to hear it.
My wife knows. This is
how you won her?
Tactics. These are the tactics that I use on her. As far as she's concerned, you might want to do it. You might want to. As far as she's concerned, I found the Holy Grail.
Oh, boo! Attacked by assassins, winning women over. Go for it. Go.
No, but with Indiana Jones, it was everything he did was completely obtainable. And where was I don't even remember where I was going with this.
Attacked by assassins, winning women over.
I know, but I don't remember where I was going with this stupid story. So on to Indiana Jones 4.
Wait,
no,
I had a great story about that too.
The thing that I found about Indiana Jones that made me like him, that made me want to be like him, was probably the exact opposite of Adam, because I always liked the fact that he wasn't afraid to fight. He was really intelligent, and he was just like his other character, Han Solo, was a bit of a scoundrel. At times, not in the classroom or anything. He was nerdy in the classroom. He was nervous. He was stuttered. All of these female students wanted to get with him. And remember the girl that wrote "Love You" on her? Yeah. And so that kind of threw him off his whole game. He wore the bow tie and the wire rim glasses. And then all of a sudden, when he went out to find stuff, you started talking about this great artifact or this thing he had found. Gears shift, man. He was in game mode. He put the hat on, the jacket on. Man, he was all business. He was cool at that point.
He made being a nerd look cool.
Look cool. Yes. Absolutely.
Yes, he was the first nerd. I didn't even realize that.
He was.
Good call.
And it showed that you could still do this stuff and be very intelligent, or be a nerd about stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact, one of the coolest scenes actually came from Harrison Ford being sick, and this is my favorite scene, and still is to this day. Even though my favorite movie is Temple of Doom. In Raiders of the Lost Ark, he's looking for Marion. They've captured Marion, or they're trying to capture Marion, and the crowd in this marketplace clears, and he's staring at this huge dude who pulls out this scimitar, this sword, and just starts spinning it and flipping it, and he just looks at him and goes, ugh, and he pulls out a pistol and pow, guns him down. Just that's it, done. He's like, that's one instance where he uses wits over top of fighting, but he killed a man.
That's true.
With a pistol. He wasn't afraid to kill a man. So
I'm sure that guy that was standing across from him wasn't going to tickle him with those swords either.
Exactly.
So
there was supposed to be an elaborate fight scene between the two. And Harrison Ford was actually very sick, and it was due to the food or water or something at that
poisoning.
time.
It's bad dates. Bad dates.
Yeah. Bad dates.
And so he was supposed to be the elaborate scene, and he just looks at Spielberg and goes, why don't he just take out his gun? And why don't I just take out my gun and shoot the sucker?
Oh, so brilliant.
And they were like, all right, let's try it. And he's like, okay. And he just, the way he did it, the look on his face, like he's just sick of all this crap, and he just shot the guy. And a classic scene is born out of somebody just wanting to get out of the physicality of a fight scene because he was sick.
And that's and take it one step further. That goes to show the so I guess it would be the quality of acting that Harrison Ford does for his characters. So
absolutely,
because what he did was unscripted. He just did it.
Yeah,
and they were like, that's exactly what Indiana Jones would do. That's exactly what he would have done. And the same thing happened on in Star Wars, where they went back and forth. He and Carrie Fisher went back and forth about the love scene. She's like, "I love you," and he had all these different lines. They tried all kinds of them, and then finally he just went, "I know," and they were like, "That's exactly what Han Solo would have said," because it just goes to show that how perfect of an actor Harrison Ford, or a choice of actor Harrison Ford was for these characters.
Do you think that Han Solo, in some weird universe, is a direct descendant of Indiana Jones?
I wouldn't see why not.
Well,
anyway, let's not get on this because that could be hours.
There's probably something out
there.
Now,
here's the elephant in the room.
But before we get
the elephant in the room, Jesse has something to say.
Please, let's put it off as long as possible.
Hey,
Jesse, go for it.
1989 in film, my friends. Okay, top 10 movies.
Here we go.
Cheating, okay.
Okay.
All right. 4 sequels in the top 10. We've already mentioned 2 on this podcast so far. All right.
Okay.
Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Okay.
Back to the Future Part 2.
Part 2.
All right. Now we have 2 other sequels in 1989 that occurred in film here. So, does anyone want to take a stab at those 2 sequels? There's actually a few on here that actually started franchises.
I do.
Okay, let's hear it.
Ghostbusters 2.
That's one. Number 2, I didn't realize this other one that we're going to mention. I didn't realize came out this late. I thought it was way earlier than this. Way earlier than 89. Adam Runyon, any guesses? You thinking?
It's a sequel.
Gremlins
2 is not in the top 10. Although I'm curious.
Come out in 89? No,
I'm curious if it came out in 89 or not. It's not in the top 10, but that's a good guess.
What about Back to the Future?
That was.
You already said that.
Yeah, that's one of them. There was a lot of franchises that started in this top 10.
This is a second movie.
Yes. Well, this is a sequel, but I'll go ahead and tell you it is the second movie of a franchise. So we'll go ahead. It's something 2.
Yeah,
very good.
It's gotta be Lethal Weapon.
Lethal Weapon 2.
Yeah, when you said it was the second one, I thought of that.
Listen to all these.
No, I did not actually.
Listen to all these movies.
Thunder Runyon.
This is all the movies in the top 10 that spawned franchises and were part of franchises. So we got Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, number 1.
Okay.
Number 2.
I got it. I know it.
Go ahead.
It's Batman.
That's right. Number 2 is Batman. The first.
Because that was one of those ticket sales on opening night for Batman.
Nice. Number 3, Back to the Future Part 2. Number 4, John Travolta, Kirstie Alley.
Oh,
look who's talking. Look who's talking. Beats out Dead Poets Society. Which is
what? 5. What? Are you kidding me? I love that movie.
I'm sorry. There must have been a lot more culture in Look Who's Talking compared to Dead Poets Society.
Have you?
The numbers speak for themselves.
Look Who's Talking. Dead Poets Society is far superior to like 99% of the movies that it's put up against. And
it is a great movie.
It's embarrassing.
I love that movie. Robin Williams, good stuff.
When did Die Hard 2 come out?
I don't know. It's not in top 10 though. So I don't know if it was this year or not. We already said Lethal Weapon 2, another franchise that got started with Rick Moranis, and I think that's about all I can think of.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yep, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yep, because I saw that one in the theaters.
Ghostbusters 2 at number 8.
We just got a tweet from that guy Dave G
Pie,
and he said Breaking 2 Electric Boogaloo.
has not made the top 10.
You know, he's mentioned that at least one other time.
Everything is 2 Electric Boogaloo from now on. I don't care.
Yes, yeah, Ghostbusters
Back to the Future 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Number 9, a classic in itself, but did spawn sequels, and that is The Little Mermaid.
2 Electric Boogaloo.
And born on the 4th of July, 2 Electric Boogaloo.
It's so wrong when you say it with born on the 4th of July.
It's the second in the series. But yeah, that rounds out top 10. We can move on to the dark side of
the dark
things.
ages.
Yes.
All right.
We got a bit of a drought here between 89 and this next movie.
So, Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I almost forgot the name of it. That's how much I don't want to talk about it. Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I will give it this. People gave this movie crap about the wrong reasons. They're giving it crap about the hiding from the nuclear explosion in a refrigerator.
Yeah, which by the way, has replaced. It's replaced jumping the shark with nuking the fridge.
Nuking the fridge. That's dumb. That is stupid thinking. That's dumb thinking because he was in a movie where a man ripped out another man's heart with his bare hands. So you're saying you believe the heart ripping out, but you can't believe that he can survive a nuke in a fridge. Dumb thinking.
Another, just quickly, that is an homage to the original Back to the Future script. I don't know if you guys are aware of that or not, but the original Back to the Future script, instead of a DeLorean,
it was a refrigerator.
It was a refrigerator that was dropped in one of the nuclear testing zones at Ground Zero. You had to hop in the fridge in order to transport through time when an atomic bomb, it has to be when an atomic bomb goes off. So the original script, I think, had Marty going back to whenever they were testing atomic bombs. And that was part of the plot. So I'll go ahead.
Do you know why it was scrapped?
Do I know why it was scrapped?
Yeah. Do you know why they changed it from a?
Because they knew everybody would poop on it for no reason.
No. It was actually a safety concern.
Oh, that's right. They were worried that kids were going to do it.
They were afraid kids were going to get into it.
I remember my sister watching an episode of Punky Brewster where one of the girls got in a refrigerator to play hide and seek.
I remember that.
The more you know.
Yeah, and then there was the one where
the star goes across.
The kid ate the chemicals underneath the.
Okay, you're going too far into Punky Brewster. I just remember the fridge, man.
Sorry. Up next on a very special episode of Screaming Boy.
Yeah, exactly. Punky Brewster. So back to my tirade. They're giving it crap about that when he stood on a bridge, spoke to Short Round in Mandarin, and goes, "Hold on, lady, we going for a ride." And then he chops the bridge while they have arrows. They could have shot him dead before he did this. He chops the rope bridge in half, or not in half, but the supports.
Yeah,
and they fall. And then he throws the main bad guy to his death to crocodiles below. After, keeping him from ripping his heart out of his chest. And these stones, he saw the stones, caught the bag on fire. There's so much going on. And I love this movie. Don't get me wrong. I love this movie. Like I said, it's my favorite one. But you're giving the fourth movie crap about the nuking the fridge when you have the monkeys that are swinging on the vines with Shia LaBeouf.
How about them ants?
And the ants that ate a man whole. And forgive me for forgetting the freaking aliens at the end.
That gotta take it up a notch.
What the heck, man?
That's what did it for me was, and the thing about that movie is this: I give that movie crap all the time because it's just not a good movie. Because you have Indiana and the you have Indiana and the Jones. Jeez,
Indiana and the Jones.
Wow.
And you have Indiana Jones and the whatever it is, and those are such perfect movies in every way, from the music down to the acting on it, and you have that same formula, and you just bring it into the I wasn't saying 90s, but you bring it into the mid 2000s or late 2000s, and it should work. But for some reason, it's like you have so many other cool things that you can do, and they chose aliens, and it's not even a cool alien story.
It was almost like Lucas and Spielberg got together and said, "How can we piss everybody off?"
Oh, okay.
At the end of this,
I don't even think they did that. I think honestly they got together and they were like, "What's the best we can do?" And I'm thinking, if that's the best you can do, then get the heck out of the way and let J.J. Abrams do it.
You go from the Judeo-Christian belief of the Lost Ark or the Ark of the Covenant to mysticism and craziness and all this in Temple of Doom. Then you go back to the Christian belief of the Holy Grail and the Cup of Christ and everything, and then all of a sudden you're like
Scientology.
No, you're like it's not Scientology. And all I can see is the guy with the hair on the memes just going aliens.
I'm not saying it's aliens, but it's aliens.
And there's so much that could have worked with this movie, that did work with this movie, that made it an Indiana Jones movie. Like the fight scenes, like when the bad guys show up and make him go through
the Russians.
The Russians. They make him go through They make him go through the warehouse, and he figures out that this thing has this magnetic field. So he's like, "I need your shotgun shells." That's all Indiana Jones. You know what I mean? There was a little too much CG in it, but it's Indiana Jones. Where he swings on the rafter and he misses the truck and he comes back and hits in there. He's like, that should have worked. And he just knocks the guy out, and he's in his late 50s, early 60s in this movie. Indiana Jones as a character.
He's into his 70s, I believe, actually.
Well, the actor was almost in his 70s, but the character I thought was supposed to be in his late,
Well, yeah, because it took place during the Cold War. So, the whole concept of Russians, to me, that's like the next logical step in the progression of Indiana Jones. I mean, that's a great idea.
The next enemy.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they go on about how he was, he worked as a spy and all, in the army, and he worked for this and that, but he never stopped being Indiana Jones.
Right.
His friend was a spy for MI6 or MI5 or whatever, ridiculous British spy thing that was going on. MI0. And it just added to that coolness factor of Indiana Jones. You go from being this dorky professor who turns into the baddest man alive when he hits an archaeological dig to like, holy crap, they made him a spy, that he worked for the military, because he knew so much about all this craziness that was going on. I mean, if you look into it, World War II history, there was a general that was close to Hitler, and I don't know if Hitler was in on it, probably, but he studied Heinrich Himmel. He studied the occult because he thought the occult was going to, the factors in the occult were going to help them win the war. So, all this stuff is going on. So, why wouldn't Indiana Jones, fall into that? Because he knows a lot of things, the occult, the Christian beliefs, he was in a cult of his, not in it, but he was taken over and possessed by, an evil cult. And he was going to, have his heart ripped out. So he knows these things. Why wouldn't the military use him? And so, it just added to that. And then all of a sudden Shia LaBeouf showed up and it all went south.
Oh,
and that's, and to me, that, I don't know. The thing is, like, there's the concept of Indiana Jones having a kid is cool.
It's awesome.
Awesome. It was
Don't get me wrong.
The wrong person was cast for that role.
Yes, I like Shia LaBeouf as an actor. I said it. And there's so many, in Lawless, I thought he was great. In the Tank movie, why can't I remember it? Fury was incredible. Apparently he got far too into his character and refused to bathe and pulled out one of his own teeth. To make himself, it was like just reaching with a pair of pliers.
Jared Leto kind of crap.
They're like, they apparently even Brad Pitt, who's known not to wear deodorant and things like that, said, "No, dude, you got to bathe." What? He said, "You got to bathe, dude." And they set him up in a bed and breakfast away from the other cast members because he refused to bathe. So Shia LaBeouf's got a little crazy going on in there, but he's a good actor, wrong for this part. His character was wrong for the story.
Yes.
Going back to Marion, beautiful. You're going back to where you started, and they end up getting married in the end. Spoiler alert. If you haven't seen this movie, it's no big deal.
Yeah, but
no loss. Don't worry about it.
The thing is, though, them getting married at the end of the movie is not the highlight of the movie. The highlight of the movie is freaking aliens.
Well, okay. Take the aliens out. Take the flesh-eating ants out, and take the vine swinging out. Okay, you take all that out. You've got fighting Russians. You've got surviving a nuke in a refrigerator, which I will fight to my dying day, saying that is a good part of that movie. It follows along with the Indiana Jones mythos, and then you've got at the end where he hangs his fedora up, when he's getting married, and the wind blows it back, and Shia LaBeouf, Mutt, goes to pick it up, and he's about to put it on. He's like, hey, that ain't yours, kid. And he puts it back on and walks out the door. And I'm like, ooh, he ain't done yet. And then, that was 2006?
2000.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. No, maybe it was later than that. My daughter was born in 2005, maybe 2007 or 2008. I'll look it up here. Go ahead and continue.
And you're like, he ain't done yet. He ain't done yet. But 10 years later, at 73 years old, and you're talking about Indiana Jones 5, you're like, and which brings us to my next question. Do they reboot it? Or does he pass the torch to someone else? It was almost a passing of the torch to Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah,
at which point I would have rent my clothes, cried to the heavens, and never seen another movie again.
Tore your clothes and threw the chaff in the air like that.
Yeah. I would have gone Old Testament on everybody right then. Wore sackcloth and ashes, brother.
It would have gone perfect with Indiana Jones had Indiana Jones stayed in the Old Testament.
Right.
The thing is this everything about this movie was wrong, but it had the elements of something that could be just perfect, And the thing is, they chose the Russians. On a side note, Steven Spielberg said we're not doing Nazis because from where Steven Spielberg directed Schindler's List, he didn't feel like he could treat the Nazis lightly. So he was like, just get rid of them all and we'll go with the Russians, So
Which is not a bad move.
Right, exactly. But, Shia LaBeouf was a bad move.
Aliens were a bad move.
But there's just so many things that could have been done. And they even brought back the original writers of this
2008.
movie.
Sorry.
Yeah. I was waiting till you guys lull in the conversation. I was going to pop in there. Sorry.
You know how my mind works.
Frank Marshall did the writing on this stuff. And the same people who did the original movies did this. And it's like, it reminds me
Were you guys not excited when you heard that this was going to be happening?
I almost peed myself.
I did pee myself. I'm just kidding.
You do that anyway. He's got a problem.
I have the same problem.
So as I was so excited, and I went to the theater to see this, and I walked out just shaking my head, going, "No, aliens, no, terrible." So it was just, I lost all control of the English language because I was like, "No, bad aliens, no."
Words are bad.
Words are hard.
Words are hard. So, by the way, on a side note, Mr. Dave G. Pye. Did you get that text that he just?
Shia LaBeouf also rumored to play Harrison Ford's son in Witness to Electric Boogaloo.
All right.
Witness to Firewall 2.
Beautiful Electric Boogaloo.
This movie was just, it had the makings of such cool things, and for me it was like I was so excited, and I got all my friends. Like I even bought like the Indiana Jones toys. Like
I had the Indiana Jones toys. I had the how tall is like a I hate to compare it to this, but like a Mego, one of those toys that they make Twisted Toy Fair Theater out of, or Barbie doll. You know, how tall are they? I had that size Indiana Jones with the whip and the pistol and the jacket and the hat.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so great.
You know, and the thing is though about this movie, I was so excited to watch this movie. I got all my friends to go, and there was probably 12 of us. And I had hyped this movie up, like, oh, it's going to be awesome. I sit down and watch this movie, and I'm like, you know, on the edge of my seat, you know, perched on the seat watching this thing and not even blinking. And then it was just like, well, wait a second.
And I
This isn't anything like, what?
Not a one of them came out there going, you know, the movie had me up until the fridge. Everything else I can believe.
Well,
but that fridge really takes me out of it.
The fridge, though, and my argument about the stupid fridge is this. Back then, refrigerators were lined with lead to keep things cold because they were not refrigerators. They were ice boxes. You didn't plug these things in. So they lined them with lead so they didn't, and it was sealed. It's the same thing that these stupid Yeti cups are. I mean, they're not lined with lead, but
that'd be dangerous.
The same thing is there. It's got in you know, the two walls, the insulation layer,
right,
and it's got a gasket that keeps everything cold. It's the same thing.
I want to clear something up. It's not the idea of aliens that really turns me off about this movie. It's the execution of it, because there was all this buildup of taking the crystal skull back to him, and then it was nothing.
I need to formally issue my daughter an apology. Okay.
Oh
right.
no, you didn't.
I'm gonna get out my date book to say this is when you did it. My little notebook.
As a child, my first ever memory. And I know I've shared this story on here before, but I want to take the time and I'm going to say it again. But my first ever memory of going to the theater and actually watching a movie was E.T. A spectacular movie. If you look at E.T., that probably is one of the bases of. It shaped my life. And dude, 1981, I think, was E.T. I could be off. 82, 81. 1980 even. I don't know. I think it was 81. But regardless, I was very young. Okay, so I'm talking like, I was born in 78, so 3 or 4 years old. But I can distinctly remember leaving the theater and crying because I wanted E.T. to come back. All right. E.T. left, went off to his own home planet. Spoiler alert, just let everybody know. E.T. did phone home. He was able to get a hold of somebody. He leaves, and I was beside myself. And I love that movie to this day. I will probably one of the few movies that I will watch and cry because it moved me so much. And a lot of, like I said, it shaped my life to where I believed, or I wouldn't say believe, but I mean, I was reading stuff on and about aliens. I can remember reading the book Communion with Whitley Strieber. It was a big factor in some of the stuff that actually I got into as a kid. Huge fan of X-Files, loved aliens. Buddy of mine actually just posted a picture. He stood outside Area 51, and when he posted the picture, he said, "I thought of you, Starcher." I was like, "You the man."
It shaped you into the nerd you are.
It did.
And
now,
I use that term.
Well, no, it's
a positive light.
Sure. And the apology comes in here because maybe Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull might be my daughter's first memory of going to a movie.
No, you're fired.
Luckily,
I'm so livid with you right now.
It's sad. Well, here's the thing: you ain't gonna sit there and tell me that if you would have had kids at the time and you were so stoked for this movie to come out, you would have taken, just like Adam was saying, he was taking his friends. Everybody's ready to go see this movie, and we go in there. Now, I don't come out of there going, I'm not coming out of there crapping all over it, but I'm not coming out of there going, this was the representation of the magic that Raiders or Temple of Doom had. This was missing something. All the beats were there.
Yeah.
Just when it came to putting everything together, because there were some familiar moments, the fights that you love, the fight scenes were
the music, the fights, his quips,
sound effects. Everything was there, but that plot just got. I mean, you got to take it up a notch, and that's the only thing I could think of is they were like, okay, well, let's bring aliens in. That seems to be a big thing.
Well, I'm reading on IMDb, just kind of as we're sitting here talking. In an interview in 2011, Steven Spielberg did an interview with Empire Magazine. And do you guys know what a MacGuffin is?
Yeah,
I've heard the term. I don't know if
I do.
For those of you that don't, it's just a plot device that really kind of doesn't really make a lot of sense, but it's just a goal for something in the movie, and there's no narrative or explanation at all. Anyway, so in the interview that Steven Spielberg was given, is he never really liked that whole plot of the movie. He's like, I don't really like it, but it was George Lucas's idea, and he's my best friend, so I'm loyal to my best friend. I have to do it the way I'm going to shoot it the way that he envisioned. I'm not going to deviate, So it was one of those things that it was one of those crazy ideas that George Lucas came up with, and instead of giving over the creative license just to say, okay, here's what we're going to do, here's the storyline, and instead of Steven Spielberg, who is a phenomenal director, said, okay, I'm just going to do it this way. And I don't know of any other movie. I don't know of any other movie that he has done that with, But in 2011, he blamed George Lucas for this movie.
Well, I mean, all right, George Lucas is. You can credit him with some of my favorite things as a child.
Prequels.
Yeah.
You don't like prequels?
No.
Not the prequels.
The prequels.
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Oh, okay.
But if you let him get his hands in it too much after it's done, you get those little fingers in there, and they start pushing buttons and mixing things up and messing around. Then you end up with the mess that you have with Jabba the Hutt being back in the movie in the first one in episode 4. Even though Han Solo walked around behind the human that played Jabba the Hutt to begin with, they cut that scene. They digitally put Jabba back in the movie and made him walk over his tail.
Exactly.
Greedo shot first in this one, and then you get things like that, and then all of a sudden you get the prequels. Lucas is not a good director. Lucas did good on some things. He had some good hits, but when you it's almost like when he starts thinking about it too much, he's not good, and it starts becoming a money making device. Hence the Ewoks, Jar Jar Binks. Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, that whole thing. So when you get that level into it and you let him do that much, it's not a good thing. So it did not, by means, and I think you all can agree, it did not ruin this movie for me at all, or ruin this franchise for me at all.
Right.
In fact, I disavowed it and pretended it didn't exist for a while until I got the box set for a present, for a Christmas present, and the 4th movie is in there. I'm like, well, I have to
acknowledge it now.
I have to acknowledge it because it's there. So that has Jesse, you're so right. It has the beats, it has the material, it has the ingredients to make a good Indiana Jones movie. Like you said, the fights, the sound effects, which to this day, Indiana Jones movies have the best punch sound effects ever. And I found out how they did it. They put a bunch of leather jackets in a pile, and they swung a baseball bat at it. And they recorded that noise.
Yep, and they also did it. Some of them, and that's actually in the bonus material of the movies. And what they would do is they hung pieces of meat up on those big hooks, those meat hooks, and then they would take turns like slapping it and hitting it with different objects, and that's how they would get these crazy realistic. I mean, they were realistic, but they were kind of cartoony. And something else that I was thinking about while you were talking about Temple of Doom, Ronnie, was that movie watches the way that you would read a comic book. You know what I mean? So, as you were sitting there going through each step, I was like, my gosh, man, this is such an awesome movie. So I think I've maybe changed my favorite movie to Temple of Doom now, just so you know.
You can't. Okay, it just happened that quick. So Dave G-Pal wants to know where our Quatermain podcast is.
Don't even talk about the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen yet.
No. That's not even it. We have
Sorry about the echo.
Oh, that's quite all right. But there's so many elements in this movie that make it an Indiana Jones movie, but the payoff is not there, and it's just it was a disappointment, and I hate to use that term, and I'm not going to end this podcast, and I'm not going to end this particular show on a sad note. So, and that's a sad note. So, with that, John Williams, man.
Oh, yeah.
John Williams can do no wrong with any movie he's in. He made, this is one of the most familiar fanfares you've ever heard. The Raiders March. Da, 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 da. Yeah, I'm not going to do that ever again. I'm so sorry.
No, man, that's cool.
Indiana Jones, Star Wars, Superman, you name it, he's done it. And even though that the fourth movie sucked, most of the video games based on these movies sucked, we still have the enjoyment of being able, even from 1981 and all the different, the first three movies hold up over time and are such brilliant movies that these are just incredible movies, and that's why we love them so much. And I think Jesse, you have something for us, don't you?
I do. And I don't want to hijack the old John Williams discussion, but I 100% agree.
Hijack away.
Okay, well, listen. Okay, give me a second here because I've got to log in. I'm gonna call in on my cell phone because we'll have great. We will be able to. Let me get in here real quick. There we go. All right, bear with me.
That's right.
I'm going to.
Oh yes, I'm so sorry. Dave G. Pie, I forgot to mention Jaws.
All right.
Mute one.
There we go. There it is. All right. Maybe.
Mute your mic.
I need to do this.
And then talk on your phone. He muted both of them.
We can't hear you.
How's that?
That's perfect. There you go.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Are you guys ready for this?
Yes.
Adam, you may have mentioned this while we were talking earlier. So, hey, up here, I look there. That double chin goes away. All right, here we go.
What?
I got to flip it around. Pointer down here. All right. I went to an auction a long time ago. All right. And I found these. I didn't buy these on purpose. These came with a bunch of other stuff. So check this out. Can you see that? You might have to click on my picture to bring me up there.
Are those Indiana Jones trading cards?
This is Indiana Jones, the young Indiana Jones trading cards. Indiana Jones Chronicles from Pro Set. All right,
unopened?
This is a full box. Look at this. This has been sitting somewhere. Look at
oh my god!
This box of Young Indiana Jones Chronicles trading cards, unopened.
How many is in there? 10 cards or 7 cards or what? 7 cards?
Let's see.
There's
36 packs in the box.
You got 360 cards right there. You got a whole set potentially.
I imagine there's probably quite a few doubles, so what do you guys want to do? I mean, this is a full box. I'm kind of the collector. Like when I look at things, I see a complete box, but you can see half the stuff's ripped off. Do you guys want to open up one?
Oh, you're
I
killing
don't
me,
know. Hey,
Starcher.
before we do
You're
it, let
killing
me
me.
let me look up, see how much these actually cost
Okay.
before we
Go
open
ahead and
them
look it
up.
You can see now. I think this came with a bunch of 10 cards. But you can barely see it on that, but as you can see right there, it says 10 cards. This has been sitting in the window of along with the Gray Sports Almanac, I think, at the antique store. But this came with a lot of different things. Now, Adam, did you watch the show when you was a kid?
I watched the heck out of it.
I own it, and I actually, what I did was, one of my favorite episodes is when he fights with the French army, and he's riding he's riding his motorcycle, and on my bike when I was little, I made a cardboard sidecar on it so that I could play young Indiana Jones. I'm serious, man. I was like the biggest not Star Wars, but the biggest Indiana Jones nerd of all time back then.
There's a 3D card and a 3D viewer in every pack.
That's right. We got some kind of crazy stuff going on there. I don't know what's going on there. Here we have.
So there's 114. There's 114 cards in the set.
All together in the set.
And you have 360 cards.
Viewer. Yeah, so there's 360 cards in this.
You might have 2 complete sets, but it's 3.
It's all cards. So Adam, did you find that they certainly aren't going for no more than $5 or anything on
$5 is what the
for a set of them.
Well, a complete set on eBay is 1 through 90 is what they're considering. 1 through 90 is $5 or best
24.
offer.
Yeah,
but I threw it to Dave G Pie, who and SMB are deciding vote.
All right,
and he said give him to a live viewer.
Give him to me, man.
So
give him to me.
And then he said, I wouldn't until I checked the price. Dave, the price is $5 for a full set. So if Jesse wants to,
I'll give you 10.
If Jesse, this is not.
We're looking at
a barter and trade moment here.
Yeah, it's the auctioning thing.
All right, here we go.
All right, you're going to open one. Let's open it.
Let's open it. All right, bear with me here. I'm going to flip this around.
Yeah, I feel so wrong for doing this, man.
I
really do.
There he is.
We'll open this colored mess here. 10 cards.
If there's gum in it, you got to eat it.
No gum. All right, here we go.
I'm chewing my shirt. I'm so nervous about this.
So I have no idea what's going on here. So our first card is where's my camera at?
Go to your right there.
There we go.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Bring it up a little bit. I don't know what's going on there, but it looks.
I don't think anybody knows what's going on there.
Indiana Jones is in some peril. They're going.
Let me just say that this whole thing we're opening up now, it's off to a bad start because it's just like somebody took a picture of what was going on set at that moment. You know,
here we go.
Is there anything on the back of it?
Okay.
On the back of it, we have Indy screams in his delirium as he is hoisted into the air. The natives carry Indy off the boat, followed by more natives carrying Remy and the Ascari men. Copyright 1992.
Nice.
All right, here we go. This next one.
I
don't know what's going on here either, but it's Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones is bound.
He is bound. Indy is tied up with 2 other prisoners, a Mexican banker and a federal colonel. As they face the firing party, Indy prepares for death. But Pancho Villa orders the shooting to be stopped.
That was I remember this episode actually.
You could ask for worse cellmates,
like Aliens and Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah, Shia LaBeouf being the yeah.
All right, here we go.
Is that
the break? I don't know what's going on here.
That's like Curly from the Three Stooges.
Sorry about the glare. Let me see if I can make.
Oh no, you're fine. Don't worry about it.
Oh, that's even going to be worse. How about that? Maybe.
Looks good, right?
Anyway,
there.
Okay. The crates of weapons and ammunition are secured on the boat. Remy, in a rage of madness, suddenly opens fire into the surrounding jungle. Indy is nearly unconscious at the helm. All right. Now, we get to card number 64 in the set.
Huh.
Oh, that's
Upside down. There we go.
There we go. There we go.
Oh, that's
All
him
right.
as a kid.
Young Indy climbs the steps of the big. Hold on. The Big Goose Pagoda.
That sounds like a
Built
place
in
in the mall
80s
that serves
Scooby-Doo.
Chinese food.
He complains to his mother that his head hurts. Okay.
Oh, this is the one where he comes down with I forget actually what the fever is, but this is one where he comes down with a sickness, and
Thanks, Disturbed. Yeah, there it is.
and they it's Richard Cheese actually, but nobody got that. Nobody got the Richard Cheese thing. Oh man,
I have no idea.
I'll enlighten you when we're done. But
Say
anyway,
Mayor McCheese?
It's Richard Cheese.
Oh, I know Richard Cheese.
Yes.
Okay. Now
Yes.
okay.
But anyway, this is the one where he comes down with some kind of sickness, and they have to treat it with acupuncture, and they treat it like it's like the worst thing in the entire world. And I think it's just like scarlet fever, but they're in Asia, and they treat it with acupuncture, and you see all these, like, he's laying there, and you see the needles, like they put needles into him.
It's not my thing, man.
Yeah, it's not a pleasant sight to behold.
All right. Mito saves Indy from a slithering snake.
Oh,
He hates snakes.
Yeah.
But the thing is though, this is not a very canon picture, because back then he was not afraid of snakes. He wasn't afraid of snakes until Last Crusade, when he falls into the snake pit. Remember? Where he falls into the snake pit, and he's just covered in these snakes on the train.
You're right.
Yeah.
We haven't seen the whole scene, so.
Well, I'm gonna say this isn't canon.
It's a lie. It's a lie. All right. What's next here? All right. This looks like there's some wartime stuff going on here or something. They're in the jungle. They got their helmets on. Bosher falls to the ground, doubled over. He is shivering and wheezing. Indy is now in charge and decides to hire a boat to Gentile, where the weapons are waiting. All right. Not very exciting stuff unless you really know this. And
Yeah,
here's a picture of some huts.
See, that's what I'm saying, like
They look like spaceships. The aliens even came in back then.
I want to believe. I can see it. You just put "I want to believe" at the bottom of it, and you got an episode of the X-Files.
All right. This is about some type of village that got wiped out by smallpox.
Mm.
Ubangi village. Ubangi. Oh, and here's our 3D card. Oh boy, this every pack of these.
You gotta look at the. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Let's see how this works on webcam. It looks like Dr. Parnassus.
Brilliant.
All right, let me just give it a shot first. Oh, that's coming. Oh my goodness.
Oh gosh.
Yeah. He's got a gun. Coming out of the card. So I'm gonna flip it around, folks.
Oh Lord.
I don't know. There's no
That ain't gonna work.
That ain't gonna
There's
work.
no way.
All right. Well, hey,
By the
check it
way,
out.
I just threw up a little bit.
Look, he's got a gun. But if you could just the 3D, you oh my goodness. I almost want to open up everything. And let's see, what is this? It's a little puzzle.
They
Help
used to
young
come
Indy
with
find
like
the hidden
comic
treasure.
books. Like there's a Young Indiana Jones comic book that's out. Oh, that's the Great Wall of China.
We've touched a little bit on Young Indiana Jones and how apparently boring the show was.
We have covered the gamut of Indiana Jones tonight.
That's, and I'm glad you mentioned that, Ronnie, because that show is not like, I don't think that show holds up as well as the movies.
No, it doesn't.
And
Jesse is having fun with his 3D viewer.
He looks like the body that Krang hangs out in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I'm gonna take my shirt off here in a second.
And
There's
the
an eject
podcast.
button I'm playing with here.
All right. I'll be coming back onto my crappy camera now and saving my phone battery. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Good deal. And
that's the greatest thing ever, man.
Well, guys, I think once Jesse gets back on here, we're going to call this one a night, and
we'll call the Night Templar.
Knights Templar, and we have chosen wisely by being Indiana Jones fans, even through the crappy movie. If you are an Indiana Jones fan and you feel that we have done it some sort of justice or disjustice to the fourth movie or whatever, if you have an opinion, if you have something you want to share with us, please tweet us at Screaming Boy PR. We have a wonderful, wonderful friend and fan of the show, and his name is at Dave G Pie.
Yeah, thanks for interacting with us tonight, man.
Yeah, dude, he's awesome. He's a great guy. I want to invite Dave on, and he's got to do some documentary diaries with us.
Oh, yeah.
And I know he's a documentary fan, so he's got to get on the documentary diary with us. So, Dave, please come on with us. And he also screenshotted you wearing your let me see if you can see this.
Oh, wonderful.
Hang on.
So it's beautiful.
It's out there for all the internet to see. By the way, I've put my cards back in the packaging as best as possible so it doesn't look like I opened them, because that's how nerds do it.
That's right.
NIB, baby.
But if you have something you want to tell us, you want to say to us, share with us, please. Tweet us at Screaming Boy PR. Reach out to us on Instagram if you want, as on Screaming Boy Podcast. We're on Facebook. Just look up Screaming Boy Podcast. Email us at info@screamingboy.com. We're out there for y'all to get a hold of, so we would love to interact with you in some way. If you've liked tonight's show, please share it with a friend. Click the subscribe button. Tell us what's going on in your life. We want to know. We care. Jesse, tell us what's going on with you, my friend.
Source material.
Know, and we care.
Oh, you do. You guys do. Let me first off, I want to thank you guys and all the great listeners out there that have listened to us talk about, give me the opportunity to talk about Indiana Jones, one of my favorite franchises. And I've had a lot of fun, learned a lot about movies tonight, top 10s and all that fun stuff. Myself, Jesse Starcher, I am on the Radulich Broadcasting Network. You can find that over on iTunes. You can find it on Stitcher. You can find it on Blog Talk Radio mostly. You can also find it on TuneIn Radio. I do a comic book show over there called Source Material, and we're in the midst right now, tonight, as a matter of fact, aired our fourth and final episode of the September He-Man Mini Comic Spectacular. That was where we discussed, I think it was Dragstore and the Dastardly Snake Men. So we talked, people can go out there, pull that episode up, listen to it. It's, I think, about maybe 30 minutes long, so it's real easy to digest.
It's so much fun.
Yeah, you can get in there. And me, Ronnie Adams, Justin Thomas, we had a lot of fun discussing those stories. And we also did it on a YouTube video, so if you guys get the chance, hashtag Source Material, punch it into YouTube. You can watch the whole video all at once, unedited. Plus, we brought up old toy catalogs, which was a lot of fun. We brought up the comics so you could follow along and check it out. So we had a good time, and you can subscribe to that if you like, because there's planning on being a second episode up here pretty soon. So kind of keep an eye out for that. I don't know what the next project is for Source Material. I believe it's going to be Hush. Jim Lee and the Batman epic Hush. So we're going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah. Fantastic.
I need to reread that one. I forget what it is, but I remember liking it.
Yes.
You need to reread it.
So check it out. And we're in the midst of Alan Moore Month on the Radulich Broadcasting Network. Hey, Ronnie, it's
almost over.
And we're going to end it. We're saving the worst for last.
It's almost over.
The worst for last. And that is From Hell. And I watched the movie for the first time last night, by the way.
What'd you think?
I had my wife watch it, and a lot of people say they liked it on my Facebook because I posted about it, and they were like, this is a really good movie. Now, as for the disparity between the book and the movie, we're obviously going to get into that on Thursday, but, I mean, there's some – you got to condense 600 and some pages into a movie. There's no way you're going to be able to get everything in there. But honestly, I don't know if there was a whole lot missing. You still had the big plot points, although there was some stuff that was changed. And I can't wait. I hope you do, Ronnie. I hope you share the story about taking your friends to the movie.
I will.
It's like a wonderful story.
I was a youth leader at a church at the time, and they wanted to go see this movie. And in my mind, in my wisdom at a young age, I said, "From Hell, that sounds like a good movie to take some youth kids to." And after the first dead naked prostitute, I said, "No, we got to go."
That was like 10 seconds into the movie, man.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So anyway, we're going to discuss the differences between the book and the movie. We'll have Ronnie Adams on there. We'll have myself. We're going to have the patriarch of the Radulich and Broadcasting Network, and that is Mark Radulich. And we can't forget our good buddy, Robert Winfrey. And
Another good man.
Yes, and Benjamin J. Clone, I believe, is coming back too. So he said he's going to stick it out with us for Vendetta, which he did great. Yeah. And then he's going to stick around for From Hell also. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Those guys are so intelligent, and they know their stuff about Alan Moore and his books that I don't have to say anything.
Oh, it's easy. Those are
probably some of the
easiest podcast ever is when you have guests on there that know what they're talking about and also want to talk. So
Mark and Robert and Ben, they all they know their stuff.
Yes.
But when Benjamin and Robert go at it, dude, you learn, you get schooled, you learn, and I sit there and make stupid fart jokes and stuff, and that's about the extent of my being on the show.
That's people. We need that, Ronnie. We need a little bit of levity to these big brains that we have on the Radulich and Broadcasting Network. Trust me.
I will make a fart joke in a heartbeat now.
But yeah, so I think that's about it. I mean, we got the documentary diary on here at some point. I'm supposed to record with Josh tomorrow. I need to confirm that before I go to bed. We're going to record a documentary diary on the mindscape of Alan Moore.
Man.
Oh my gosh!
You're a glutton for punishment, my friend.
Yeah. I wanted to get Josh involved in something, so I figured maybe we could do that. And so that'll be fun. I don't have very much else. You can follow me at Stiznarkey on Twitter. You can follow the show at SourceMacCast on there. That's for source material. And I think that's it. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Hey, man, you're part of the family, so you're welcome on anytime. And we just got another tweet from that guy, Dave G. Pie, and I just want to see what he says right now. And he said, no, this, and never mind. I'm not going to. Yeah.
Is it more pictures of me? It is.
Yeah, it was a picture of you holding up your 3D viewer, and underneath it is the body of Krang.
The biosuit from Krang.
Yes, I've got to see this. I'm hopping on Twitter as we speak.
Yeah. Adam, what's your Twitter handle?
My Twitter handle is Adam is a nerd. You can find me on there. I tweet random stuff most of the time, like I just did now. You can go check it out. Again, it's Adam is a nerd.
You can find me at Shownuff, SH0NUFF. Once again, I'm going to run down all our social media at Screaming Boy PR, Screaming Boy Productions on Instagram, and you can find us on Facebook. You can also download us on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, and the Radulich and Broadcasting Network has our show as well, as amongst other wonderful shows such as Source Material. With that, I'm going to say, I live in a mansion. A mansion. And if you don't get that, go listen to Source Material. Have a good night.
My hip-hop will block the shot. My hip-hop block the shot. My hip-hop will block the shot. Block the shot.
Really Solomon, yeah, you know me, quote, working from home, unquote, it's easy, turn a 2-day weekend into 3, CBD within reach, TXT to MSG to BB.
Vibrations in my pocket.